Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories, where today, my Karen girlfriend wants me to get rid of my dog because she's older and it will be too costly to keep her. Me and my girlfriend have been dating for 6 years. I brought a dog into the relationship who was 5 years old at the time. The dog is currently 11. I had conversations with my girlfriend about this and the possibility of another dog. The first thing she said was, "No, dogs in general are expensive. Which reminds me, you should get rid of the brat we have right now because old dogs like her are so much more expensive." After she said this, I told her that the dog was my best friend and something I would never get rid of because she means too much to me. I told her that the dog matters more to me than money. She got upset. She said the dog should matter less than what she wants because we've been dating for 6 years. I simply got up and left the room so I could calm down. The dog has never been a problem. She hasn't had to do anything with her other than feed her at night when I'm at work. The dog hasn't ever been a problem in the time we've been dating. She's mostly lazy, and the most she does is a daily walk that my girlfriend hasn't ever had to do. I've owned this dog for longer than we've been dating, and this dog gave me the love that I wasn't able to get from anyone. How can I tell my girlfriend that I'm not going to get rid of my dog? I don't want to cause more problems than needed, but I do care about my girlfriend, and I don't want to lose her because of something as stupid as this. Edit. Thanks for the advice. I didn't think there would be so many people helping me. I have decided, when I have the time, to get rid of the girlfriend. I can't be with someone who, like many of you have said, will not care for me when I'm old and sick with her, or who will divorce and leave me when our kids turn out to be too expensive. Me and Pupper will live our best life without that weight on our shoulders. You need to be straight up with her. I'd be concerned at this point about how she treats your dog when you're not around. To word this in the gentlest way possible, I don't suppose it's with kindness. I seriously think you need to walk away with your dog. Yeah, I would seriously be concerned that one day you're gonna come home to find your dog gone, with your girlfriend saying, "Gosh, he must have gotten out and run away, I guess," and not knowing if she actually drove him 100 miles away and left him in the woods, or took him to a vet to have him put down. Your girlfriend sounds absolutely horrible, and I honestly wouldn't trust her if I were you. I've been with my boyfriend for over 8 years. We got our cat after about 4 years of dating, and if he ever told me to get rid of my cat, my boyfriend would find himself single and alone. I think deep down, you know what to do in this situation. Am I the jerk for kicking a couple out of our wedding for getting engaged during the bouquet toss? My wife and I, 26 female and 32 male, got married 2 weeks ago. At our reception, her cousin, Rachel, who's 24, caught the bouquet. Apparently, her boyfriend, Ross, who's 25, had been carrying a ring around waiting for the right time to propose and decided her catching the bouquet was a sign. So immediately after Rachel caught the bouquet, Ross ran out to the dance floor and got down on one knee to propose to her. She said yes, and so obviously this shifted all of the attention onto Ross and Rachel. Everyone surrounded them to congratulate them, and then Rachel asked the DJ to play their song for them to dance, which derailed the next few things we had planned. I already wasn't happy about this because we only had the photographer available for a certain number of hours, and I was worried about going off the schedule. But what really upset me was that I could see that my wife's feelings were obviously very hurt that Ross and Rachel were stealing our thunder. My wife is really not the type of person to want a lot of attention or to be comfortable spending a lot of money on herself, so our wedding was the one special day when she was able to do so without feeling guilty about it, and seeing it ruined for her was awful. I decided to ask Ross and Rachel to leave, and at the time, my wife agreed with me. So when I had the chance, I pulled Ross aside to tell him that I didn't appreciate him upstaging us and that I thought it would be best if he and Rachel left early so we could enjoy the rest of the night. Ross started arguing with me, saying that I was acting nuts, which caused more of a scene than I expected or wanted because a small group of our wedding guests overheard the conversation and jumped in with their opinions. Ross and Rachel did ultimately agree to leave, but for the rest of the night, people were talking not just about them getting engaged, but also about me kicking them out. Everyone was on our side, but even so, my wife and I weren't happy that people continued to talk more about Ross and Rachel. The reason we wanted them to leave was because we didn't want to keep being reminded all night of the stunt they had pulled on us instead of being able to simply celebrate our marriage with our friends and family. My wife has since said that it was wrong to kick out Ross and Rachel, and we should have pretended to be happy for them in the moment so as to not further ruin the night because people would have talked less about it that way. Rachel's mother has also complained to my wife's mother about me kicking them out, saying that we should have brought it up to them privately later instead of causing a squabble because now that's the only thing anyone is going to remember about our wedding and or about Ross and Rachel's engagement. I do still think that Ross and Rachel, mostly Ross, were the jerks in this situation. But was I also the jerk? Not the jerk. While I get it was a spur-of-the-moment engagement, it was not appropriate. That could almost have been forgiven if they hadn't pushed it further. Then going to the DJ to play their song was completely out of line. I'd be mad at the DJ too. He shouldn't be taking requests from people who aren't the bride and groom. They should have realized the time and place and the middle of your wedding wasn't it. Edit. For those hung up on my spur-of-the-moment wording, I chose that because OP stated Ross had been carrying the ring around already. He was looking for the perfect moment. If it was his first time carrying the ring, I wouldn't have called it the spur of the moment. He, however, had been carrying around a ring for an undisclosed amount of time. Decide how you want. Edit 2. It's debatable if it was spur of the moment or not. He had been carrying the ring for an undisclosed amount of time. Intentional or not, Ross and Rachel were still in the wrong. It's not appropriate to get engaged at someone else's wedding. Keep downvoting me for whatever you are, but I am in no way condoning the engagement at their wedding. Am I the jerk for telling a guy at the gym to leave me alone? At the beginning of this year, I wanted to commit to working out again. At first, I started at home in my garage, and more recently I decided to join an actual gym again. It's only a 4-minute drive from my husband and I's house, so it's perfect. Here's my problem though. 2 weeks ago, while I was deadlifting, a guy came up to me and interrupted my workout to tell me I was rounding my back and I could seriously get hurt that way. I was kind of annoyed because I don't like when people give me unsolicited advice and interrupt my workouts, as well as what he was saying just wasn't true because I wasn't rounding my back at all, as I used to compete in powerlifting for a few years before I took a 2-year break from the gym. I know what proper form is and how to keep it. He seemed like a nice guy, so I just told him thanks, but I've got it. That was the end of that interaction. The next day, as I was in the gym, the same guy comes up to me, interrupts my workout again to ask me my name. I tell him my name, he tells me his, and I put my headphones back on and continue my workout. I know I maybe came off as rude, but like I said, I don't like being interrupted in the gym. Unless you're asking me how many sets I have left so you can use the equipment, there's nothing else to talk about, and I don't want to engage in conversation. That's just how I am. When I was about to leave, he stops me again and hands me his phone to put my number into it and tells me that we should train sometimes. I told him that if I was going to train with anyone, it would be my husband, and I declined his phone. I thought that might let him know that I'm not interested, but over the course of 2 weeks, he's been constantly trying to speak to me, interrupting me whenever he sees me. Trying to get to know me on a personal level, he's asked me out to smoothies after the gym multiple times, and he's tried more than once to get my number. I constantly remind him that I'm happily married. I usually just fake smile and laugh and respond very short and simple anytime we speak. Like I said, he seems like a nice guy, but I'm not in the gym to make friends or cheat on my husband. I truly just want to work out and listen to my music, but I'm constantly having to take my headphones off to give this man attention, and now I'm spending more time in the gym because I have to catch up on what I'm really there to do, and the talking is distracting. It's wasting a lot of time. So yesterday while at the gym, he comes up to me again while I'm in the middle of a set of goblet squats, and he taps me on the shoulder to get my attention. He snuck up behind me and did it, so it really startled me and I dropped the weight. I finally had enough and I snapped. I took my headphones off and told him to leave me alone. He told me he was just trying to say hi, and I guess he was embarrassed or something because he just walked out of the gym after that. I found that weird because didn't you come here to work out too? It's like he only came here to talk to me, and when I told him to leave me alone, he just left. I finished my workout and I left. Now I'm kind of worried about the gym because I know he'll be there and I honestly don't want to deal with him anymore. I simply want to work out. Am I the jerk here, and should I apologize when I see him today? Update. I posted yesterday about this annoying guy at my gym and I wanted to share the good news. So last night I waited for my husband to get home from work. He got home at 9, we ate dinner quickly, and we got to the gym around 9:45. I usually go at 8, but he usually comes in around 8:30, so if the guy went to the gym, I knew he'd either be gone already or on his way out. So when we got to the gym, I told my husband to just do his own thing and I'll text him if I need him. He told me he'd keep an eye out for me as well. Things were going fine for about 10 minutes until I see him. He had his gym bag and looked to be leaving, but then he saw me too and started to approach me. I have no clue what his intentions were and I didn't want to find out. I immediately got up and started walking towards the front desk, and he stupidly followed me all the way there. It caught the attention of my husband, who was across the room, and he started to follow us both too. When I got to the front desk, I didn't wait. I just blurted out to the workers, "This man won't stop harassing me." What happened next really ticked me off because he tried to lie his way out of it and pretend he's been helping me out. He tried saying that he thought we were just gym buddies and friends and that he was just going to come say hey and catch up. My husband called BS and told him he knew everything and to stay away from me. The guy tried to defend himself by saying that he only ever gave me advice on training and he doesn't like false accusations. At this point, because we were being so loud, the person who I assume is the gym manager heard us from his office, came out and pulled him outside to talk. They stepped out to talk while my husband and I stayed at the front desk, telling the other workers what's been going on the past few weeks. A few minutes later, the manager comes back inside and tells us that we don't have to worry about him anymore and that he's been taken care of. I saw the guy walk into his car to leave. I felt dumb in that moment because I realized the solution to my problem was that simple. I never even needed my husband to come in there in the first place. I'm not sure if he got banned or simply kicked out for the night. I guess when I go back tonight, I'll find out and I'll have my husband accompany me again just in case. But the rest of our gym session went great. He never showed back up, thank God. These past 2 weeks really made me want to stop going because I didn't want to deal with him every time. But I'm just really happy I can work out in peace again. Am I the jerk for telling my niece that her brother will always mean more to me than her? When I, 43 female, was 18 and my sister, 47, who was 22 female at the time, had a nephew, let's call him Luke, with her then boyfriend, now husband. My sister and her husband didn't have any interest in Luke when he was born, so I took the role of taking care of him. I got my grandmother, she's an angel, to watch him while I was in my last year of high school in exchange for me cleaning and cooking for her on the weekends. My parents weren't much help either. They would give me about $100 a month for Luke, and if you have a kid, then you know that's not much. Me and my grandmother were the only ones to take care of him. A year after I graduated from high school, I was kicked out with my nephew because my parents, sister, and her husband didn't want to deal with us anymore. My sister said she wished she never had him. I immediately went to my grandmother and we went to a family law attorney and I got custody of him, and my sister and her husband signed their rights over to me. I lived with my grandmother, and when I went to community college and my part-time job, she watched my son, Luke. It was a lot of work, especially when my grandmother passed when my son was 6. My grandmother left 90% of her things to me in her will, which caused my parents and sister to reach out to me under false intentions to meet my son and I and reconnect. That didn't last long, and I told them they could either act right or never see us again. My dad decided to actually reconnect with my son and I, and now we're close, while my mom and I don't really talk much, but she treats Luke nice. When Luke was 8, both me and my sister became pregnant, and that's when my sister decided she wanted my son back and started to tell him that me and my husband wouldn't love him anymore once my actual son came along. My husband met my son when he was 5, and we were already together for a year before he met my son. My husband treats Luke like his, and we got married when my son was 7, and he adopted him when he was 9, with my son's permission. We found out that my sister was saying this when one day he broke down crying, asking us not to leave him, and we told him this would never happen. He explained what my sister and her husband had been saying. Luke knows that he's not my biological son, but he is my son. After that, I cut contact with my sister and her husband again and did family therapy and individual therapy for my son. When I had my son, 1 pregnancy and 2 kids, I made it clear that our love for him, Luke, didn't change. When my sister reached out about 2 years later, I decided to go low contact with her with the okay with my son and husband. My husband and I live comfortably, while my sister and her husband struggle sometimes financially. My kids did extracurricular activities, got the presents they wanted, and went on one big family trip in the summer, while my sister and her husband couldn't afford much. So when my niece was around 9, my sister started making comments about how I needed to pay for this or that for my niece, but I told her it wasn't my job. I gave my niece the gifts she wanted, took her out from time to time, but nowhere near how I would treat my own kids. Now my son, second, is turning 17, and my husband and I were talking about getting him a cheap starter car. We did the same for Luke when he was 17. My niece is also turning 17, and apparently my sister told her she was going to get a car too. The thing is, my sister can't afford to buy her a car, so she asked me to, but I told her I wasn't going to buy her a car, that I didn't promise her one, and that it's not my job to get her one. My sister then got mad and didn't talk to me for a while. When my son's 17th birthday came around, we surprised him with a car. My niece then called me a couple of days later, screaming and crying, asking why I hate her and why I can't treat her the same as her brother. I calmly told her that things were different. Her brother is my son, while she's my niece. I'm her aunt and nothing more. That as an aunt, my job was birthday presents, Christmas presents, and showing up when it mattered. That was it. That her brother will always mean more to me than she'll ever be. Then my niece started yelling at me again, telling me that I'm being unfair and hung up. My sister then called me to go off on me about how I need to do more. I told her if she wouldn't have promised her a car from my money, then none of this would have happened. It's been a couple of days, and I'm getting calls from family and some of my sister's friends calling me names and other things. I do feel bad because my kids did grow up with more, and I guess I could have helped more. So, am I the jerk for what I said to my niece? Not the jerk. You adopted their first kid, already way more than a whole lot of people would have done. Am I the jerk for causing a mass exodus from my uncle's barbecue? I'm 32, female. My uncle, male 71, and his wife, who's 69, recently hosted a family barbecue at their home. This is normally a rotating thing, so everyone in the family takes turns hosting. My uncle is a very difficult man to get along with, and I mostly win because it's important to my mom, who's 66. He's very rigid in his beliefs and will make it very clear to you if you have done something to offend him. Once that has happened, there is no chance for redemption regardless of whether you're family, friends, or a stranger. While at the barbecue, everyone was standing around, and my daughter, who's 6, helped herself to a banana from the fruit bowl. Now obviously, you shouldn't take anything that doesn't belong to you without asking, but she's 6 and manners are still being learned. Not saying she was right in this. That being said, my uncle lost his mind. He called her a thieving brat and started threatening to call the cops. I stepped in and he told me to pack up my stuff and go because he didn't want thieves in his home. He told me that neither myself, my daughter, or my husband, who's 33, would ever be welcome again because clearly this was a taught behavior. I was furious. I told my uncle that this intolerance was why he has no friends and why we only visit his home out of obligation. I told him that without my mom's family values, there wouldn't be anyone at the barbecue. In the middle of this, he pulled out his phone to call Mr. Police and ask how she would survive in prison. My daughter was beside herself, so I gathered her and my husband and we left. Apparently, after we left, my uncle was ranting and raving, and eventually my cousin, female 24, not his kid, told my uncle he was lucky he didn't try this with someone else in the family because I was still polite in what I said. She told him that she refused to eat at the home of someone who thought it was okay to act like this. As my cousin left, apparently quite a few people followed, and suddenly it was just my uncle and his wife left. His wife has been calling me, telling me that I humiliated him in his own home, and I can't expect his generation to be polite. She has also told me that he has been moping ever since because he feels like an outcast in the family and that I shouldn't have been so harsh. I'm glad I stood up for my daughter, but I never intended for anyone to leave as a result of the banana. Now I wonder if I was too much. Was I the jerk? Not the jerk. His behavior is beyond absurd. Obviously, acting the way he did was awful, and you were right to not tolerate it. Your kid did nothing wrong. Anyone would assume that food set out at a family barbecue is there for guests to eat. I'd never expect anyone to ask me for food I'd put out. Your uncle is obviously upset that you called out his crappy behavior, and everyone agrees with you. He's likely unaware that he's actually sad because men of older generations were taught only to express anger. I won the lottery. Now my mom demands I share my heavenly blessings with my family. I, 23 female, live at home. I finished high school, but I didn't have the marks or the money to go to college. I'm smart. I just spent a lot of my free time helping around the house with my 3 younger siblings. I got a job at the convenience store by my house full-time, and I work with my mom at the local dollar store. I give most of my paycheck to my parents to help with the rent and food. I keep $50 a week to spend on myself, and I save $100 a month for my future. I also buy scratchers. Not a crazy amount. I don't drink or smoke. I don't really have any bad habits, I guess, but I do buy a scratcher every blue moon. My mom says they are a tax on the stupid and against God's word because it's gambling. My dad says if I have money to spend on them, I should be contributing more to the house. My brother is 20 and he has a job, but he doesn't have to contribute because he has a girlfriend and he's saving to pay for their wedding and trailer. I honestly like living at home and seeing my little sister and brother every day. Anyways, I won. Not Powerball money or anything. It's a lottery where you get a certain amount of money every week for 20 years. It's more money every week than I take home in 2 months. I know people who won sometimes lose it all, but I took my time and did some studying at the library. I went to my bank and they helped me get a lawyer, an accountant, and they have set me up with a financial planner. I was going to keep working and giving my parents the money like I always do, and I like working. But my mom found out I had money for some special treats for my little brother and sister. Nothing big, just a Switch and some games. She thought I was wasting my savings and that if I had extra, she could use it better. I don't know why, but I told her that I won the money and now she wants it. It's heavenly bounty and I should give a tithe and offering to the church. I go to church, but I don't think I believe anymore. I haven't for a while. I told her no, and she said I had to move out then, so I did. I went to a hotel. My bank put me in contact with a real estate agent, and I'm buying an apartment. Just one room, but it's nicer than my house. I'm not working right now because she told everyone. Now everyone is asking for money. But I don't want to give people I barely know money. I've set up an education account for my younger brother and sister, and I set aside $5,000 from my savings to give my other brother when he gets married. But my mom is saying she wants to retire and that I'm being selfish. I don't think I am. Am I the jerk? Attacks on the stupid. Against God's word. Give me that. I want to retire. What you've done for your siblings is perfect. Moving out is perfect. Take care of the things you need and want to care about. Your mother's hypocrisy is not your problem or responsibility. Not the jerk. Be careful with the bank, financial planners, and accountants. Trust no one with your money. Double check all the information, accounts, and books. Stick to your plans. You do not owe anyone anything. Create the trusts for your sibling and have a lawyer make it ironclad your mom cannot get it at all. You will be asked for money to fund business ideas and everything else you can think of for your money. Save all you can, because soon people may start the lawsuits for every little thing which costs money to defend unless you settle out of court, which is what they want. A good lawyer can make them have to pay court costs, saving you a lot of money. Just keep your head up, and you do not need to donate to anything that you don't feel like. It's your money, not your mom's or anyone else's. If you start getting guilted into giving people money, cut them out and move on. Well, what would you do in this situation? Would you give your mom the money she wants or not? Please let us know. Rule number 1 of having lots of money. Never tell anyone you have lots of money. It's always wiser to blend in with those around you than to stick out like a sore thumb and set yourself up to be targeted. Karen and I just might hit a lick on you. Skirt, skirt. Am I the jerk for bringing my sister-in-law's wallet to the restaurant when she conveniently always forgets it? I'm 28, female. My sister-in-law, Amy, who's 26, always comes to visit from out of town. She stays with us instead of a hotel and always wants to go to expensive restaurants. She always conveniently forgets her wallet or comes up with some excuses as to why she can't pay her share. She has implied that since I make much more money than her, I should be the one to pay. No, not my husband should pay, but me specifically. I do make a fair amount of money, but not so much that I can treat someone every time they come into town. Nonetheless, in the past, I've just paid the bill and asked her to pay me back. She never has. She had made a reservation at an extremely expensive restaurant last night, and before we left, I made it clear that I wouldn't be paying her bill. This is where I might be the jerk. And I'll admit, I got this move straight from an episode of 2.5 Men. As we were leaving, her and my husband went to the car. I pretended I forgot something and went back inside. I found her wallet sitting right on top of her suitcase. I put it in my purse and we went to the restaurant. When we were done eating, I asked for separate bills. She said, no, we need one bill because she forgot her wallet again. I reached in my purse and said, this wallet? She was extremely furious. She said that I should not have touched or grabbed her wallet. So, am I the jerk for taking her wallet and bringing it to the restaurant? Edit. Amy just called me. She saw this post and she yelled at me for bad-mouthing her on the internet. Honestly, I don't care. Amy, hopefully reading all these comments is a wake-up call for you. Some answers to common questions. Why does my husband keep letting Amy come over? Without getting into too much detail, he has always been expected to pay for nice things for the women in his family. He's also kind of been scammed out of large sums of money by his family. That's slowly been shut down over time, but we're working on shutting down these dinner and outing things too. He allows this because he feels bad that they don't have a lot of money. It's sad, but that's how his family got along for a very long time, being dishonest about anything and everything to get their hands on some extra money and extra financial help. I could write a book on some of the things I've seen them do over the years. It hasn't been easy to show these people how wrong this is. He has talked to Amy about being cheap, has had come to Jesus talks with her, and genuinely has always felt that each next time would be different. We've been in therapy addressing this, and he's learned to set boundaries. This restaurant thing is a boundary that he hadn't set yet. It's hard to set all boundaries all at once when you actually had no clue what boundaries were and have had no boundaries for years. Does he pay too? We're married. My money is his money. When I mentioned Amy specifies I should pay, I meant more that she specifies since I make good money, we as a whole shouldn't be cheap. What was the point if you ended up paying? I knew Amy wasn't going to pay. She always finds a way not to pay. I went to the restaurant fully expecting to pay the bill. I did this because I saw it on a show and I thought it would be funny to do in real life, to be completely honest. The point wasn't really to get her to pay, it was more to show her that the forgot my wallet excuse was getting old. Is Amy banned from visiting? Fortunately, this post turned out to be a good thing. My husband has always had it in his head that Amy is a good person and has her reasons for being sneaky and cheap, like I mentioned above. In his head, it's not her fault that she is the way she is. It's the circumstances of their upbringing that cause her to make bad decisions. But seeing Amy's reply to my post and people's responses to Amy has really changed his thinking. That's the first time Amy has outright admitted that she's purposely taking advantage. Reading some of the other comments has also been eye-opening for him. So husband told Amy that she's not welcome here, at least not for a long while. Judgment. Thanks for lots of not the jerks, but I liked one commenter's, sometimes it's okay to be the jerk. I think that's exactly what it was here. It was a jerk move, but also outweighed by Amy's being a jerk. Thanks again, this is the end of this. I won't be giving any more updates or comments. Not the jerk, but you totally should have flipped the switch. Left your wallet at home, only brought your license, so she had to cover the whole bill, then never take her out to a restaurant again. Not the jerk. That was a boss move. But if you want to keep it up without getting accused of touching her things, when you're in the car, don't let your husband start driving until she shows you that she has her wallet on her. You told her right up front, I'm not paying this time, and she tried to push you into it. Honestly, I don't know why you keep going out with her. Cancel, or insist your husband pays. Like, what does he say about all of this? Because he needs to have a chat with his sister about how she's taking advantage of your generosity. Next time she stays and says there's a reservation, oh, hey, I hope you guys have a nice time. Yeah, I'm not going. I'm getting tired of you continuously trying to do me over. ETA. In regards to OP's edit, Amy, your sister-in-law couldn't badmouth you if you didn't give her plenty of ammo. You're saying she's badmouthing you? She's just telling people what you did. If you feel some kind of way about it, that means you're aware that you done messed up. Stop being mad at other people for reacting to your bad behavior. Change your bad behavior. Grow as a person. Usually, I'm against people touching other people's property, but in this case, well done. Be aware that next time she will be hiding her wallet, but maybe just refuse to go out to dinner if she doesn't bring her wallet or card. Let her know if she doesn't pay, she will not be going out with you and your husband, and make it clear that your hospitality is a courtesy, not an obligation. She's very welcome to stay in a hotel next time if she doesn't abide by the rules and respects you. Your husband's family might start harassing you after you establish the rules, so might be worth having a dialogue with your husband and having him be the bad cop. If the family complains, tell them that they are welcome to pay your sister-in-law's expenses, including past dinners if you have the receipts or bank statements. I got here late, and everyone is saying you rock, what a power move, awesome idea, etc. This is one of those votes that leaves me hanging my head in despair. You went into someone's deeply personal property. This is absolutely the wrong thing to do. Two wrongs don't make a right. Is there any situation that you would be okay with someone not in your immediate family taking your wallet out with them and then spending your money on something? I will concede that the ongoing behavior of Amy is egregiously awful, but not sure this isn't worse. The only saving grace in my eyes is that more appropriate responses might have been triggering or challenging for your husband to deal with. Everyone sucks here. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or Amy? Please let us know. Oh, I can't stand freeloaders. You know what else I can't stand, Reddit boy? People who watch our videos but don't even click the thumbs up. Whoa, easy there, Karen. It takes a fair amount of effort to, tap that button with your thumb. Who's going to pay for your daughter's summer camp? We do, with pleasure. I was a Girl Guides leader for ages 10 through 13, and it was time for the kids to tell us if they would be going on the annual summer camp or not. We needed that info to plan ahead. So one of our weekly meetings, I asked around who would go and who would definitely not. Cora, one of our older ones, told me that nope, she wouldn't go with us. Cora was a determined guide, came to every event, so I was surprised and asked her why. She explained to me that her parents were divorcing and both parents stated that they would not pay and the other one should pay. What I knew, every Scouts group here has a fund for the kids whose parents might not be able to pay for summer camp, etc. The kids I was looking after usually had rich parents. Cora's parents were a lawyer and a doctor. The money was not an issue. Pride was. I decided to take them up on that pride. So I went to the chief of the group and told her what was happening. Cora wanted to go to summer camp. Her parents were fighting about payment. Did we have the funds to finance that trip for her in principle? And I did get the go. So I first called the mother and told her that Cora told me about the situation and that I perfectly understood the conflict. However, Cora was a girl guide to the bones. She wanted to go on the camp, and we, the group, would make that possible if they allowed. That we had those funds for the financially challenged ones, that I had asked the responsible person, and that no matter what, the money for her to go to that camp was there. That I knew finances were not the issue, but that Cora deserved those 2 weeks, and until this conflict was solved, that we didn't care of her background, we'd front that money. We just wanted her to be able to participate because she was a good guide, and that we didn't want to take that experience from her. Good news, yay. I hung up, dialed her dad's number, and told him the same. At the next week's meeting, I told Cora the good news, that no matter what, she could join us. She told me that this wasn't an issue anymore. She had come for sure. Now her parents were fighting over who would be the first one to pay. I pay. No, I pay. Those 2 words, financially challenged, were the key words that hurt them. I'm not a manipulative person. I could, but I have a strong dislike of it. However, if you tell me that nobody's going to pay for your daughter's summer camp, I'll gladly comply. Gates are open. Please come in. Am I the jerk for wanting my parents in town, but not at my house while I'm adjusting to life with a newborn? I, 24 female, am currently pregnant, due in December. I live with my fiance, Dan, in the town where I grew up. I have a great relationship with my parents, but they had me quite late in life and they're both retired now, living in a beach town in the south. When they moved out, they sold me the house I grew up in well below market value in exchange for me hosting them when they needed or wanted to come into town. It's been like that for 2 years. They've been here a bunch of times for 3 to 4 days at a time, and it's been a good arrangement, I think. Now, yesterday, I was talking to my mom about the birth, and I brought up that I would like for her to be in town when I give birth and to stay for a few weeks after. Dan has no relationship with his family, and I'm an only child, with only a couple of very elderly aunts and a few cousins I don't have much of a relationship with, so we don't really have much in terms of a support system. Therefore, I'd love for my parents to come here and help around the house, with the baby, offer me the emotional support I know I'm going to need, etc. My mom was excited that I was asking her to do this and said that she'd be okay with staying with us for a few weeks while we adjusted to the baby. I then told her that I didn't mean her staying with us, just in town, as I believe Dan and I are going to need and want alone time to adjust to the baby. My mom was a little offended, saying that she wasn't going to bother us and she was going to help out. But I told her it was nothing personal. I just preferred if she got a hotel or Airbnb or something. My father then intervened, having been somewhere within the earshot, and said that accommodation was going to be really expensive around that time of the year. Our town has a very famous big Christmas market, and he wasn't about to spend thousands of dollars when I was asking them to come, and it had been our arrangement when they sold me the house that they could stay whenever they wanted. Which, like, fair, but I don't think that having a newborn at home is just a regular time in someone's life, and it's not like I ever complained about them coming over before. I just don't want them in the house, but I do want to have them in town, and I feel a little sad that they are putting money above me and their grandson. My mother hung up the call, trying to appease the situation, but then sent me a text saying that her and my dad were a little upset over the whole thing and that they thought I was being unreasonable. When Dan got home, I told him all of this, and he kind of sided with them, saying that they should be allowed to stay with us, but I still don't think it makes sense, as we're going to be needing our alone time. Was I the jerk here? Yup, you're the jerk. You asked them to come. It's not like it was them imposing on you right after you gave birth. You knew before you asked that the arrangement you have with them is that they stay in your home. It's a lot to ask that they come and spend thousands on lodging so they can come help you clean your house and care for your baby. The baby isn't born yet. You have time. Figure out a way that you and your husband can have alone time while still hosting your parents. They sound like good people. Just explain it to them. I would guess husband will be at work at some point over those weeks, so ask them if they would be okay making themselves scarce a few evenings a week so that you, your husband, and baby can have time together. They can go out to dinner together or just retreat to their room after dinner, assuming you have a guest room for them. You're the jerk. Either let them stay at your house or you pay for their hotel, Airbnb, or whatever yourself, or don't expect them to visit. They're doing you a favor. A second favor, since they already sold you their house at well below market value in exchange for you letting them stay there when they visit. I'm not saying you're a jerk for not wanting house guests when you have a new baby. I just think that you can't demand that they visit for an extended period to help you, but insist that they pay their own way. You're the jerk. Look, I'm all for not hosting people right after having a baby. That's totally reasonable. What is unreasonable is to expect your parents to come into town for a month, do chores for you, and foot the bill for a hotel. That's not a visit, it's a maid service. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her parents? Please let us know. I can't fathom how anyone would expect their parents to spend thousands of dollars on lodging to come visit them for a month. This is crazy. I just can't. Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.